Hello everyone, and welcome to Umbrella's channel. Now I should point out that I don't know any editing skills, so this is just a heads up for my channel. So if my editing skills seem a bit inferior, that is because I do not know how to do editing properly. In my very first channel I sort of edited videos, but they were not the bestest of videos, seriously. I'm like, what the fuck am I like, huh? What am I like? So this video will obviously have my language on it as well, and it will mostly be about me talking about Resident Evil and that. I mean, I don't see how I'm going to end up with subscribers if I'm going to be talking in the dark. So, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be doing what Neil usually does, criticise and talk about stuff about Resident Evil. Now, for first off, criticising about Resident Evil. Now, I myself am a fan of Resident Evil, and that's very surprising to some of you because I should point out I'm actually Scottish. I'm Scottish and I'm from Scotland and that. And that's very surprising because from where I live, Japan is awfully far away, and it's mostly the US or Japan that get that stuff. But I'm a fan of Resident Evil, and I don't care what people say. I mean, people are not going to give a fuck if you're a fan of a game or not. Some people are because it depends on what the game is. Like GTA, but I've got a head mistress and I don't give a shit what she thinks. Because she's a bitch. But, so... And I don't just choose my pictures because I think they look cool. No, I just think that's a smart choice for it. So what I criticise over is basically the new Resident Evil film, what's so good about it and what's so shit about it. Let's get into it. So first off, in the Resident Evil film, the film looks great. The plot seems kind of some of it seems a bit questionable. But in order for me to criticise and I put an analysis on that, I have to actually see the film and understand the plot. Because from looking at a trailer, I clearly can't match it up. Because unless the theorizers out there can do that sort of stuff, I can't. Some of them are probably able to do it within just a week. Good for them. Because I put theories and images and screenshots together, thinking, oh, this is the next scene. Oh, this is looking good. So, I looked at the trailer and it looks really good. Now, the other thing I should point out that it's missing and should have is Tyrant, or at least we should have Tyrant in it. Now, the reason why obviously the budget must be that big that they can't put him in it, because I get, what you're putting in is a lot of things. So, if you wanted to add Nemesis or Mr. X, well, you're already adding William Birkin's mutated form, and that's going to be a big budget for what the CGI of it is, or I think that's what it is anyway. And that's like a lot of money. That's a lot of money right now. I mean, my recommendation would be this probably could be a part 1 film. Although some people they wouldn't probably like that because they get really, really pissed off. And like, okay, so what do we wait next year? We wait the next month? We wait the next November? Are you fucking kidding me? We waited for months for this film and then release a part 2? But just hear me out on this. Hear me out. Making a part 2 wouldn't be such a bad idea because then it would fix the budget and the problem. You could add Nemesis or Tyrant to the film. That way, once you guys have built up enough money, you can just continue. And actually, what would be really good is for us to have Nemesis and Mr. X fight each other. That's every fanboy Resident Evil's dream. To see Tyrant fight another Tyrant. Obviously, it would have to be a Tyrant that matches their skills. So, let's not have Albert Wesker in it. Albert Wesker's in the film, but not Nemesis. Now, the characters I'm mostly familiar with. Ada Wong, So the only two actors that I know so far are Tom Hopper, who is the Albert Wesker. It's actually been said that he was told to play the Resident Evil 5 game and a couple other games that involve Albert Wesker and to sort of catch his personality and understand how Albert Wesker works. Otherwise, he would improvise, and improvise is not a smart thing to do in acting. Sometimes it is because they know what they're doing. But for Tom Hopper, Albert Wesker is a very complex character. Albert Wesker, I have to say, is a bit complex. And you know, he's a psychopath. At least in Code Veronica he is. In Code Veronica he's a psychopath. In the 5th game he's mostly calm at times. In Resident Evil Code Veronica, the reason why he was acting like this is because he was so desperate to kill Chris. Because Chris had cocked up everything. And in Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1, it looked like he had a lot of work in mind. Especially when working with one of the most notorious scientists ever that had created one of the most powerful viruses in the Resident Evil game series, the Goliath or G virus, made by William Birkin. And I also discovered that in Resident Evil 0, they're not in the laboratory that you visit in Resident Evil 0. This is the laboratory, I'm pretty sure, from Resident Evil 2 original. If that's the case, that's actually pretty good. They've actually decided to do that. Now, I've not played Resident Evil 2 original. I've played the remake before. I've played the remake and completed it, but I've not played the sequel, and I might never do that because, let's face, I'm never gonna buy a PS1. I mean, buying a PS2 was the most stupidest thing to ever do because I replaced it with a PS3. It's a lot of money to be wasted on for my birthday money, though. It's not really good. And the first time I got it, I took it back and sold it because it was a piece of shit. I'm not kidding. It was absolute shit. I didn't realise the problem. I bought San Andreas for it. It was completely terrible. Absolutely terrible. You should never have one of them. Never. I don't know why you even bother with a PS2. You should always stick with the PS1 if you plan to become a classic. What else? Oh yeah. So my main concern is Albert Wesker in the film mostly, and William Birkin in that. Now, someone called Scorpion wanted there to be a scene like in Resident Evil when you find the notes and that and the papers, it would tell you and have you you would read it, and in your mind you would think what they were thinking when you read them. It would basically, you would be reading the things that the evil characters would be doing. It would tell you what they were up to, basically, the bastards. Bioweaponry, this test subject, and that, this and that, you know. They were up to no good, but, I mean, come on, we're talking about a sinister corporation. It's obvious that they're going to be up to no good. But we only got that in Resident Evil 0, where Albert Wesker was interacting with William Birkin. And it showed, just to go to show that these two had a pretty good friendship, or a relationship with one another. But Albert Wesker wanted to left Umbrella for, I don't know that reason just yet, but I will soon. But William Birkin decided to stay at Umbrella because he wanted to continue on his virus that he was creating called the G virus, as he'd already gathered up much that he could about the Tyrant virus, but he wanted to now focus his efforts most on the G virus. Which, who wouldn't, because that virus is actually one of my favourite viruses in the series. The second favourite would be the molded virus, and the third favourite would be the T virus, which kind of might annoy some of you people. I don't know why. I mean, you might not get annoyed because, look, the point is, Albert Wesker after that then decided in his plan he would have to lure the STARS members into the mansion. If you've played RE1, you know how the plot goes. Now, I've completed the game as Jill Valentine, which is my biggest mistake, because I wanted to do it as Chris, because it seemed that you get more information and more story cutscenes out of Chris, especially with Rebecca Chambers and that. So when I discovered that later on, it really annoyed me because I spent a lot of time into that game playing the remake original. because that game was so hard. It had it was just Resident Evil 1 with updated cutscenes. Well, there was a bit of differences, but not that many differences. I don't know if they should remake the first game. They already did, but I don't know if you should do it today, like a modern today's one. I'm not sure. I'm unsure. So, as I said, when Albert Wesker left, that was the last time he saw William Birkin. It was the last time he saw him, and that was the last time that William Birkin saw him. Both characters met their fates, however, one would survive while the other would die. Albert Wesker would survive the incident at the mansion via the use of the prototype virus he would inject to himself after the creature that killed him had been killed by Chris Redfield, which probably explains why he got pissed off at Chris, because he saw the tyrant as majestic, when the irony of it is that he gets killed by the very thing that he considered to be magnificent. In his own words, I quote, "It's magnificent." And then he gets stabbed. But then he comes back, as I said before, with the prototype virus. And then he attempts to get access to Umbrella files. Unfortunately, he is intervened by the Red Queen, an artificial intelligence of Umbrella. And later, Umbrella Chronicles depicts what happens after the events of the mansion incident. And during the time, even without Albert Wesker's powers, he was still able to take on the Ivan. Well, he nearly lost to them if it wasn't for Sergei Vladimir telling him to stop. Even during the events of the mansion incident, Albert... Now, this is actually not seen in Resident Evil 1 game. This is seen in Umbrella Chronicles cutscene, which is annoying. The game was a bit annoying because, enemies were everywhere. It wasn't like the sequel of the game. Umbrella Chronicles, however, is one of the most great Resident Evil games as well, because it gives us more story into the Resident Evil classic universe. What happens after Raccoon City? How does Ada Wong escape? And what goes on? And needless to say, I think it went well. Then there's another thing I want to point out as well. It showed us that also Albert Wesker knew Sergei Vladimir as well. He knew Sergei Vladimir, who I will later explain in the second video. Anywho, Albert Wesker... What was I going to say again? Oh yeah. It was discovered that Sergei Vladimir had taken the Red Queen. He told Albert Wesker that he had taken the artificial intelligence away from the city, as it's seen in Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, while Ada Wong is secretly under the crate, and in that crate, it's not a bioweapon, it's basically the Red Queen, I can assume, the artificial intelligence body, the thingy anyway, and that's where it was kept, and they were taking it out of the city, because there was it's an AI, so it can go anywhere. But we all know Ultron from Marvel, he's artificial intelligence, so he can... But Vision had shut him out, so he couldn't escape for the network and the internet. But the Red Queen couldn't do that either, because she was just a proto-artificial intelligence. She couldn't do the things that today's artificial intelligence could do. We're talking about an Alexa here. She was basically an Alexa. A little ball that couldn't do hee-haw. And that's how she got killed. Because Albert Wesker then, after defeating Sergei Vladimir, had shut her down and deleted all the data on her. And successfully in his mission. I also got annoyed that the fact that this takes place... This is in 2003. So 1 year later... 1 year later is Resident Evil 4, and I already played that game long ago. So I really need to get Resident Evil Timeline connected properly. Anywho, that's all I have for today. In the second video, I will go over the Tyrants as well as Sergei Vladimir. You shouldn't probably, don't expect there to be any images popping up and out. Because my editing skills, once again, will just fail at life. They will fail at life. But, yeah. So the next video will be posted tomorrow. And we'll go over and talk about the Sergei Vladimir, the tyrants, his upcoming death, the hands of Albert Wesker, as well as the creations known as the T-00s or the T-103s. And that's it, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.